Well, hello again. So we have a very, very pretty spring day today. It's right around 60 degrees, and I thought it might be a good idea to explore one of my favorite camping, hiking, outdoors items, and that is a portable organizer. This is the Maxpedition, I believe it might be the Fatty model. It's one of the larger ones that they make, but this is the item that I always move between packs. It contains everything I consider to be relatively essential. You know, stuff that you would definitely miss it if you needed it and didn't have it. Check the framing here. Looks pretty good to me. Alright, so we'll just go through this together and talk about why I've chosen to put things in this that I have. The reason I went with this in the first place is most packs have far too many pockets and hidden little recesses in them to be able to, at least for me, remember where I put what and why. So if I can keep it all contained in a much smaller package, that really helps me out. What we've got here is the organizer that I move between my small pack, my medium pack, and my large pack, depending on how long I'm going to be going somewhere. So right up in the front pouch, I tend to keep smaller items. I've got some duct tape here, well, Gorilla Tape, folded up with a smaller strip along the top. Not only can you use this for obvious things like tarp repair, emergency tent patch, things of that nature, but it's also a fantastic fire starter. If you wrap a little bit of this around a dry twig, maybe 3 or 4 turns, and leave a tail, it will burn hot and fast and usually catch a small twig on fire very, very easily. So that's that. We have here, oops, dropped a little thing, an emergency sewing kit. I've just got this tied shut, but it is just your basic Singer emergency needle and thread, various types. Now, of course, you can use that to repair items of equipment, backpack, clothing, etc. But you can also, of course, in an emergency, sterilize it and use it to stitch up a wound. Maybe we'll go through that with an orange at a later date. And here we have, as we've talked about in my past video, some emergency soft shackles that we can use as impromptu little carabiners to link A to B temporarily and easily undo. They take up almost no weight, so I have a few of them in there. There's one, there's two, much shorter one. Here is a dual purpose one that I made. This is a Dyneema line, so very, very strong. This would be fine to use for a hammock linkage. It's far stronger than paracord or bank line, and this one has been threaded through for strength. So instead of using the Lark's head knot, you simply put the button through and slip it into place. And that's probably good for at least 1,000 pounds. So if you're in a hammock, your dynamic weight expands more than you would think with the motion of being in a hammock and the dynamic forces at play. So that's in there as well as a backup. Remember, 2 is 1, 1 is none. And here, there's 2 more things in there. We have a FID for punching through synthetic, well, synthetic or natural line. Most of the line I have is synthetic. And that will help you splice cordage like this by punching through the fibers without destroying them so that you can feed the line through itself. I've got it wrapped up with a little bit of paracord there just so it's a self-contained, here's the item and here's what you can use it on. So far, let's not forget this. This is some Dyneema accessory cord. And I've got a number of loops linked together with lark's heads. I can't even recall as to why, but very high strength, very thin cordage in a loop structure, always a good thing to have. So, put that stuff back, then we'll go to the inside. As you can see, just in the front slip pocket, we have a number of handy little items right at hand. And the reason I use packs like these is A, I can switch between small, medium, and large pack very quickly and know that I have at least the bare minimums. And B, in the middle of the night, it's very easy to reach in and find this item without having a light on. So let's open it up. As you can see, it folds open quite easily. Has a number of organizer loops that are elasticized. There's a front loop and a back loop for larger items. How much they stretch over time, I've had this one about 2 years. I haven't had any issues with anything loosening up too badly. So there is a back pocket here. This is a titanium straw that I picked up off of Amazon. Why do I need a straw? Well, for fire acceleration. If you have some tinder that's a little wet or a flame that is guttering a bit and you need to bolster it, you can simply blow and create a targeted little jet of air. And titanium doesn't hold heat the same way that steel does. It's very, very fast to heat up, but it's also extremely fast to cool off. So I find this to be a handy little item to keep inside because it weighs nothing. So that just fits in that back panel there. Also in the back panel, I have a basic diafold diamond sharpener. I believe the blue side is the coarse side, somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 grit. And the fine side, I think, is around 600. I would have to look it up. I don't honestly recall. But that lives there as an emergency sharpening method for any tools that need a touch-up or actually become severely damaged, because diamond will take care of your problems, no matter what steel you happen to have on hand. And also in back, a lighter. Do I know how to do primitive skills fires? Yes, I do. Do I know how to make a fireboard and a bow or a fire drill set? Yep. Do I have a ferro rod? Right there. I'm always going to default to a lighter. if I have the option. These are backups to me. I don't feel the need to do that to myself every time. I'm out there for fun. As long as I stay trained up on how to do the skill, that's good enough for me. So up front, we have a very sharp set of tweezers, very sharp, with a little spring action to them, so they can actually exert a fair amount of force. These are primarily for, insect stings and thorns, splinters, basic stuff like that. The aforementioned ferro rod. This is an old Light My Fire, I believe. We have a large steel poker slash fid. Another thing I like to do is, if you need to crank down on a marlin spike hitch or something of that nature where you really need to pull some tension on something, this is a great tool to wrap the cordage around a few times or put a marlin spike hitch over top and be able to exert a lot more leverage on a line. So in general, just having something pointy and strong, generally helpful. Can't remember the last thing I used it for, but it lives there. Then we have a pen and a Sharpie. Permanent marking on synthetic surfaces. This is the industrial type of Sharpie. It's far more resistant to fading and wiping off than a regular Sharpie. And a pen, you never know if you're going to need to circle an area or if you have a map, if you need to write on it. As long as it's not coated paper, you'll be fine. And if it is coated paper, you can always use the marker. But just a couple of marking implements at hand. Now, on this inside loop, we have a Work Sharp field sharpener for, if this wasn't enough or you need something finer, you can use this to do a rough diamond plate sharpen, a fine diamond plate sharpen, a ceramic rod honing, and a stropping, all in one. I don't know what these go for now. I think I paid $20 or $30 for it originally. Works really, really well. I don't tend to use the angle guides, but they're there to make it very simple for someone who's never done it before to do it. I tend to use a methodology that I've picked up from my betters. I'm a good sharpener, but I'm not fantastic. For this one, I know that when the spine of the blade is aligned with the corner of my index finger nails, that in a comfortable position for my finger is about a 17-degree angle. So that's the method I use. I will stroke either way, but I use the edge of my fingertip against the stone very gently and index the blade angle with that sight line to my nail edge. That gets me a great result every time. What else do we have? Yet more Gorilla Tape. Little small roll, doesn't take up any room, hardly weighs anything. Tape's great. It's great to have, especially if you had a wound that you needed to put some gauze over, and then you can just simply tape it on. That's the fastest way in my opinion, unless you have some of that fancy wound sealing powder, which I do intend to add eventually. Now, this is my EDC kind of in the pack item. I also have an individual first aid kit that I carry separately. A lot of times I'm traveling with my younger son, so the stuff I felt that I would need for myself is not complete enough by far, but if you lost one, I do have some basics in here. So we'll set that off to the side. Small length of 550 cord. Another few soft shackles. Again, I just find them very handy, so I keep them around. Another lighter. Another lighter. The Jeep models last, I believe their marketing says 3,000 lights. I've found that to be true over the years. I buy these in 12 packs from Amazon about once every decade, and when I run out, I get another 12 pack. We have a flashlight that runs on an 18650 battery, so it lasts a very, very long time. And I've just got some accessory cord here to be able to Lark's head it to a line or an object and be able to have the light roughly where I need it. This is an old Fenix. Aside from that, now, just joining the club today, we have those disc fire starters that I made as an experiment off of other people's designs and ideas. I've got 5 in this empty canister, this waterproof canister. The fire starters themselves should be waterproof. I did not clean off the labeling well enough before I used the Sharpie. I should have covered it with tape. I'll correct that at a later time, but it's easy enough to open it up and know what they are, and if you're looking for fire tinder, you'll find it. Here I have a Leatherman charge for all the small tools and things that you could press into service if need be. This is my favorite Leatherman, but I don't carry it very often anymore. I just don't. I tend in my pockets to keep a lighter. I don't smoke, but I do carry a lighter. I carry a small length of bundled cordage, and I carry at least a pocket knife. That's what is in my pockets at all times. So with this, you've got screwdrivers, you've got scissors, you've got a can opener, though limited usefulness of this as a can opener. I can't think of anything I've bought in the past 5 or 6 years that didn't have a pop-top style lid, but there you have it. And one thing I particularly like about this model is the tools are locking. So you've got good strong pliers, another knife serrated with a gut hook, and a file, or I'm sorry, this is a wood saw, which I've used it. I've tried to do the things I could do with a small silky saw with it, and you can. It's going to take a while. Down here we have our diamond coated file. See if I don't keep my nails long at all, so those nail nicks, I really hate them. But you've got a coarse cutting file, another rough file, and then a fine diamond file. And then, oop, wrong side. Then you have on this side, what makes this Leatherman so very special to me is that it actually has a blade made of S30V. S30V is not one of my favorite steels for knives. However, it is extremely corrosion resistant. And this is a very, very thin blade. If I had to guess, I would say that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 degrees per side, 15 on the outside. It's very, very thin, very sharp, very slicey, and it's another option when you need it. Okay, so fire starters, lighters, sharpeners, another set of pliers. Compound force is always helpful, and you never know, like if I had something I needed to grip a little better than the Leatherman, something a little larger, these Knipex can help you do that. And these are so very small. They take up no space, they weigh almost nothing. And also in here, yet another knife. This is the, I believe the Manix 2 lightweight. Again, this is a extremely corrosion resistant steel, S110V. I loathe sharpening this one, but this one is very, very sharp. And it has a ball bearing for the lock that snaps into place in the tang. So it's very, very strong for a folding knife, and has just enough profile to it that if you had to, if you'd lost all your other tools, if this was the one item that you'd manage to retain, you know, in a kayak flip over or loss of equipment for whatever reason, and you didn't have a fixed blade, I would feel okay about relying on this for a few days. And again, it's the lightweight model. It doesn't weigh very much at all. I hate carrying this in my pocket, by the way. That feels like 2 inches of height. It just hogs a pocket. So it lives here. That being said, I really like that Manix 2. I just don't want to carry it. So, in this pocket back here, I have some antihistamine. I don't use it, but someone else may need it. I have some antiseptic wipes. I have a Band-Aid. I have a gauze pack. I have some acetaminophen. And these are really, really cool. These are compressed towels. They end up about this level of a footprint, and they're made of cellulose fibers. They're very, very strong, very reusable. If you don't like to carry a handkerchief or a cotton square with you, these are a really good alternative. You can get a bag of hundreds for $10 or so from Amazon, and when you need to use them, you just open them up and dash them with water, and they expand. They've been hyper compressed by a hydraulic press, and they're all rolled up inside. As soon as you add a little water, they decompress and fold out into a fairly large, fairly strong, reusable rag. Handy to have. And another one of those. And that is it. So within this bag, excuse me, we have some very, very basic first aid items. Better than nothing. We have 1-2 methods of sharpening tools. We have 1-2 knives and tool sets. We had, I believe, 3 lighters. We have a set of small locking pliers. We have fire starters enough for, let's see, I had 5 in there. I would probably cut these into quarters in an emergency before using them. So, 20 fires potentially, at least 10. We have some marking instruments. We have a sharp, pointy object for all kinds of uses. We have a titanium straw. We have many, many little impromptu carabiners and some extra cordage. Really should replace this with a about 50 feet of bank line, I think. We have some tape. We have a flashlight. We have an emergency backup fire starter. We have a sharp set of tweezers. And then we have further tape and cordage on the outside. And that is what lives in my little portable quote-unquote EDC bag. And this is the one that I always have with me when I go out into the woods. As you can see, it's not the lightest thing in the world. I would estimate this weighs 2.5 pounds. But everything in there is of value and is of use. So that's all. I just wanted to share this with you and what I've chosen to go in there. Not saying it's perfect or what would work best for you, but it certainly makes me feel comfortable knowing that I have it when I go out into the wilds. So thanks for your time, and I hope you have a great week.